This is the reason why most people in London are never going to be able to buy a house, unless they get it through inheritance or they have insane corporate jobs earning £250,000 a year or more.
Here's another way young people are screwed in this country. Housing affordability in the UK has gone crazy.
More and more young adults are having to live with their parents because they can't afford to rent or buy a place in the UK.
Why is renting in London so damn difficult? Why is it so hard? I have never known a city to be so difficult when renting.
And I'm moving for the plain and simple reason I'm tired of renting in London. Renting is draining my f***ing pockets and I'm sick of it.
Everything is so expensive in London. Every single flat that I've seen is expensive in London. Every single one.
But people should not be allowed to rent out a box room for £900 a month. That's just rent.
One bedroom apartment, okay, you're paying at least £1,500-1,600 a month. Minimum, and that won't be bills included or council tax included.
The price that you actually see on Rightmove or Zoopla, that's not the price. People will bid like £1,000 more than the asking price. Oh my God, like.
Live in a kitchen for £1,300 per month. Alternatively, this is known as a studio with an open plan kitchen.
Because the toilet is literally right next to the bed. I'm sorry, people, but this is definitely a massive hygiene risk. Who wants to be going to the toilet next to where you're sleeping?
Who wants to shit and sleep and eat in when everything's this close together?
They want us to buy, but they make it so difficult to buy. So they want to keep us renting, but now they've made the rent so high that we can't move. And then if you are a landlord, you're penalised. It's just a hot mess express.
I need to either pay 6 months rent up front. 6 months rent up front, I'm sorry?
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to I can't be depressed by everything.
It's actually disgusting. It's actually disgusting that this is becoming the normal. This is the norm.
Welcome back to Broken Britain, where moving out isn't the start of freedom anymore. It's just a short-term lease on independence. More and more people in their 20s, 30s, even 40s are packing up and moving back in with their parents. Not because they failed, not because they didn't try hard enough, but because this country has failed them. Rents are exploding, house prices are a cruel joke, and wages haven't kept pace in decades. We were sold the dream of getting our own place, told that hard work and saving up would get us there. Now, even if you work full-time, your entire paycheck gets swallowed by rent, bills, and the cost of living before you can even think about saving for the future. It's not just an economic crisis, it's a dignity crisis, and it's forcing people to give up the one thing they were promised: independence. If you've ever felt trapped by this broken system or found yourself moving back into your childhood bedroom just to survive, hit subscribe.
450,000 more 25 to 34-year-olds are living with their parents in the last 2 decades. More and more young adults are having to live with their parents because they can't afford to rent or buy a place in the UK. And this isn't just confined to London. More and more big cities in the UK are becoming more and more expensive for young people as well. And a lot of times this can be seen as a benefit because it allows young people to save whilst they're living at home so they can build up their cash reserves and buy a property or rent a property. But I see this number getting bigger and bigger as the cost of living and the cost of housing soars through the roof. It's not uncommon nowadays to hear people in their late 30s or even 40s living at home because of the cost of living. But in this young population, what it does is it has a detrimental effect on the creation of families. 20 years ago, people were buying properties in their 20s, they were having kids in their 20s, they were getting married in their 20s. What a lot of people don't talk about is that living at home changes your life dynamics. A lot of people living at home can't bring a child into that home environment. And it's easier to meet someone when you have your own place. So what that does is it pushes back the marriage age, it pushes back the age at which people are having kids. And I know not everyone wants to have children, but the dynamic of the UK and the cities and the towns is changing due to this phenomenon. I personally think it's only going to get worse as the cost of living increases and more people are priced out of buying a property or renting a property. And unless rent caps are brought in, then it's going to become dystopia.
Hi, I'm looking to rent a 2-bedroom flat in London, please.
Got 1 bed for £2,300 a month.
Let's have a look. What's that? Is the flat a bowl?
Do you want to live in it or not?
I don't think I can.
I'm afraid it's no longer available.
Right.
£2,200 a month.
For that?
No, for this. Do you want an egg?
Thanks. That flat looks great.
How much?
You said 2,200.
Yeah, that's the starting price.
I have to bid to rent.
I'm afraid it's no longer available.
What? What?
2,100 a month.
Is that the flat, or are you just offering me a spoon?
No, I'm using the spoon to point at a flat, which is also a spoon.
I think I just have to live outside of London.
Yeah, you can get this for the same price, or this.
All my work's here, though.
You can just commute in using the famously cheap and effective UK trains.
Great joke.
The rental crisis in the UK is an absolute shambles. I've just found this room to rent in Essex and it's going for £800, and oh my days, wait until you see the photos. First of all, here is the bed. The kitchen is literally right here. We've got the TV here, the shower's there, but wait for it, because the toilet is literally right next to the bed. I'm sorry people, but this is definitely a massive hygiene risk. Who wants to be going to the toilet next to where you're sleeping? Imagine bringing a girl back and this was your room. Oh my days. It's safe to say that this is definitely not legal. It is literally a conservatory. I genuinely cannot believe for the absolute life of me that this landlord is charging 800 British pounds per month. The absolute cheek of the landlord to call it a large, bright and airy space. Are you having a laugh? If you were wondering, this place is based in Grays, Essex, RM17. I'm sorry, Steve, you can put all the flowers you want in this room. It is not going to hide the fact that the toilet is right next to the bed. The sad thing about this situation is that somebody will genuinely pay the £800 a month and live in a conservatory with a toilet next to the bed. And if you wanted a little bit more proof, here you can see the bed and then the toilet is literally right there. I am absolutely finished. Let me know your thoughts on this one, people. Am I clutching at straws? Is this totally fine, or is this definitely illegal? Because I'm pretty sure it is. Let me know what you think.
Hiya, hello. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to talk about something that's really aggravating me to the point that I just don't understand, and I think it's cruel and horrible, and I think the UK needs to do something about it. But people should not be allowed to rent out a box room for £900 a month. That's just rent. And it literally be the size of a cardboard box. Like, I'm not even messing. You get out of bed, you're on the toilet. Who wants to shit and sleep and eat in, like, when everything's this close together? And the furniture, everyone comes fucking furnished, and the furniture is disgusting. It's like a 2-seater sofa, which is literally just an armchair. Like, all right, come around, mates, and just sit on my lap in my ugly fucking grey apartment that I'm paying £900 a month for. Just rent. I can't even afford that. It's actually disgusting. It's actually disgusting that this is becoming the normal. Like, this is the norm. I'm not a bloody hamster. I'm a human being. And I would like my kitchen to not be in my bathroom as well as my bed.
I'm so stressed out. The last 3-4 weeks, I've been trying to find a house in London, or at least just outside of London, for within my budget. And nobody told me how hard it is to find a house or a flat in London. It's not the hard part, it's the everything is so fucking expensive in London. And now I need to tell my current landlord on the 20th of June if I'm staying or moving out. But they've increased my rent to something that I can't afford. Everything is so expensive in London. Every single flat that I've seen is expensive in London. Every single one. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I can't be depressed about everything. I can't be depressed by everything.
I've just found the most horrific studio flat in London for sale on Rightmove. Check this out, people. Now, this is in Marylebone. It's going for £2,000 a month. This is the outside. Wait for it. Because upon first glance, you're probably thinking, oh, it looks all right. You know, £2,000 a month. It's not too bad. But wait for it, because the bloody bed is there. And then when you put the bed down, it basically covers the whole bloody room. Now, how are these landlords charging £2,000 a month for this? This is absolutely bonkers. How is this legal? Now, you got your little kitchenette here. The bathroom is here. And the bed actually takes up the whole floor space. I genuinely cannot believe people actually pay to live here. Now, you've got a nice little terraced area. That's not too bad, to be fair. The bathroom is so small, and you can tell by the angle of the photo, this is very, very small. But the estate agents are taking a bloody piss because they're saying a bright and well-presented studio apartment with a private southwest-facing terrace set on the first floor of a charming period conversion in the heart of Marylebone. Charming? Are you having a bloody laugh? This is a slum landlord if I've ever seen one. I'm just waiting for the people in the comments to be like, you know what, £2,000 a month, I would live there. If you pay £2,000 a month to live here, you are outright stupid. I'm sorry, this is absolutely insane. But obviously, let's just look at it. It's actually Marylebone. It's obviously a whole highly sought after and popular area. The sad thing is the rental market is an absolute dire right now. Somebody will genuinely pay that and live like that.
Live in a kitchen for £1,300 per month. Alternatively, this is known as a studio with an open plan kitchen. It seems as though London living crisis is becoming a bit of a joke. Clearly, as you can see, I believe that this was a kitchen to begin with, and they've decided to put a bed and a table in the kitchen and call it a studio. It's been described as part furnished, excellent studio flat, second floor, sought out location, spacious open plan kitchen. Wow, there we go, open plan kitchen with a bed inside. This spacious studio flat is arranged on the second floor and benefits from an open plan kitchen and bright shower room. For anyone that likes to cook stew or any sort of smelly-ish foods, good luck cooking in there, because all of your clothes are gonna smell of whatever it is you cook. I know studios are designed that way, but this one is quite literally taking the piss.
This is the reason why most people in London are never going to be able to buy a house, unless they get it through inheritance or they have insane corporate jobs earning £250,000 a year or more. Alright, the first big topic is rent. Most people are renting while they're saving for a deposit. The problem in London is that rents are absolutely through the roof, and the majority of your money that you earn and that you're trying to put aside to build your deposit for a property is being spent on rent. So if you're spending that much money on rent, you don't have enough surplus to then start stacking and afford a deposit for a house. So you're in a cycle of just paying your rent, having to live somewhere, paying your rent, and then not being able to save for a deposit. And it just lengthens the time and the age at which you're able to buy a property, and just makes things really, really, really hard. Most people's mortgage payments would be on par with the rent that they're paying for the similar property that they're staying in. So for most people who are renting a property right now, their mortgage payments, if they had a mortgage on it, would be probably lower or same as the rent which they're paying. The problem is people can't afford to save for a deposit because they're paying so much in rent. And also the mortgage applications typically lend you 4.5 times your yearly salaries. So for a lot of properties in London, you're looking at zones 2 to 3, you're looking at £750,000 plus. Let's say your household income is £100,000. You can then borrow £450,000. So your deposit would have to make up the rest, which is £300,000. Who do you know who has a £300,000 deposit? So this is fundamentally the massive problem when it comes to living in London and buying property in London. It's just very, very difficult for anyone to get on the ladder. And then once you do, you know, all of your savings have been depleted to go into a house. And in my opinion, I like to have investments. I like to have things that do go up in value aside from property. And you just have no more exposure to stock market, crypto, or any other hustles you got going on. So all of your money's tied up in your house, and essentially you are house rich but cash poor. And for me personally, that's never a situation that I want to be in, because it's just not favorable. But let me know, do you agree with my points? What are your thoughts on the housing market in London? Do you think it can be helped or solved in any way?
Why is renting in London so damn difficult? Why is it so hard? I have never known a city to be so difficult when renting. But let me break this down for you. I went to view a flat on Saturday. Gorgeous, one bed, like in my price range. It's literally £100 more than what I'm already paying. And it is 3 times the size of my current apartment. So perfect, I can afford it. Tell me why I need to be earning a minimum of £40,000 to rent it. The flat that I rent now, I'm paying £100 less on my salary. The other option is to have £6,000 in savings. Who has £6,000 in savings? The third option is to have a guarantor, which I do. That's not a problem. But my guarantor has to earn 42 times the monthly rent. I had some other viewings come through, and all of them have told me that I need to either pay 6 months rent up front. 6 months rent up front, I'm sorry? I had an application come through, so they did actually send me an application through to apply for this flat I went to go see on Saturday. She'd already said to me that 10 people had already been to view it, and some of them had already put offers in. Tell me why people are putting offers in like £1,000 more than what's being asked. It's like a bidding war. So there's no chance. I find apartments are literally £100 more than what I'm paying. And I can afford it, but they won't even look at me because I don't have any savings. I don't have a guarantor that's earning £1 million fucking pounds, and I can't pay 6 months up front. What is a girl supposed to do? And the fact that people are bidding for flats, so like the price that you actually see on Rightmove or Zoopla, that's not the price. People will bid like £1,000 more than the asking price. Oh my God, like, this is impossible. These flats are going so quickly because I called up on Saturday and she was like, yeah, can you be here in like an hour? Yeah, sure, I can be there in an hour on a Saturday. But when an apartment goes up on the website, it's gone within 3 hours, it's gone. So you've got to be available 24/7 to go view apartments. Do I just move back to Cardiff or Derby or Manchester? Because London, it is impossible.
There's not much in the UK that'll kill you, but there's an awful lot that'll make you want to die. UK houses cost a lot. In fact, per square metre, London is the third most expensive city in the world. That's because in the UK, all house building targets are set in Westminster to be met by local councils who draw up plans and sell the land to private companies for development. Since the 1980s, local councils haven't been able to develop these sites by themselves due to legislative limits on their borrowing. The trouble is, those targets never get met. The land's there, the contracts get signed, and yet the houses never appear. That's because of a practice developers use called land banking. Developers want to sell houses to make but if they do that too quickly, they'll flood the market and the price they can sell those houses for will decrease. Given they have complete control over the market, cheers, they instead sit on the land, build and sell those houses only when they're optimally valuable. Because of land banking, since 2008, the average profit made per housing unit sold has increased from £30,000 to £62,000, far outstripping inflation. However, given how much money is donated to the two leading political parties in the UK by home builders, it's unlikely this policy is going to change anytime soon.
Here's another way young people are screwed in this country. Housing affordability in the UK has gone crazy. In 1995, the average house price was £51,529, with an average salary at the time of £15,096, a healthy ratio of 3.4. 10 years later, house prices had shot up to £143,912, a crazy 179% increase, with wages in that period rising 52% to £22,888, almost doubling the house price to income ratio to 6.3. By 2015, house prices had increased by another 27% to £182,291 on average. Wages grew 21% to £27,600, pushing the ratio up to 6.6. So what's the situation today? Even worse. The average house price as of January 2025 is £268,548, with the average salary standing at £37,430, giving a ratio of a crazy 7.2. So what happened? Why do you think housing is becoming so unaffordable these days? Let me know what you think can be done about it in the comments.
So yes, I am moving. If you came from my original series where I moved from my mum's house where she kicked me out, I am now moving again. And you guys saw how long it took me to get that place. It took me insanely long. Not long, actually. It did only take me 6 weeks, but I feel like it's still too long to find somewhere to live. And I'm moving for the plain and simple reason I'm tired of renting in London. Renting is draining my fucking pockets and I'm sick of it. It's put me at such a financial disadvantage, and just living by yourself in London is a joke. That's why so many people are trapped in relationships, trapped in situations that they don't like, is because it is so fucking expensive to live in London. I'm also tired of feeling trapped, I'm just trapped in one place. I need the flexibility, I need the freedom, I need to just be able to pick up and go whenever the fuck I want. And right now, living where I live, I just can't do that because obviously I'm tied down to paying my rent every single month, which yes puts a roof over my head, but it also limits me financially and what I can do in my life. So I'm going to be staying with my best friend for a little while, and this kind of figuring my life out. I'm 27, I have no relationship, I have nothing holding me back. I don't know what's going on. Things are very confusing for me right now, and I just paying all this money for rent is not helping me figure out what I want to do, because if I am going to move into my own place, a 1-bedroom, it's going to cost me a lot more, and I just can't afford it. I'm £34,000 a year and it's not enough. I'm sorry, people are oh, it's such good money. It's not. 34 grand is nothing, and it's definitely fuck all in London. I know people be oh, then just stop traveling or just stop spending so much money. How ridiculous does that sound? You want me to stop traveling for what? Because traveling is this massive luxury, and only the richest people are allowed to experience it. Like, no, like traveling has become so much more affordable. I don't understand why we must slow down just so that we can have a life in the UK. Fuck that. I don't want that. So that's why I'm moving. That's what's happening. I'm moving in 2 weeks.
All right, guys, I'm in Fairlow Square, SW7, the London borough of Chelsea and Kensington, or Kensington and Chelsea, sorry, as I should say. Look at this house. Look at this. Look at physics. That's mad. How much do you think the rent is? Look how skinny that house is. Wow. That is mad. Look at that. I wonder how much, wait, it's got apartments. Let me see how much apartments is here. How much have they got? They got 8 flats in this. And look at the windows. And it's so small. Wow.
I want to talk a little bit about the housing situation that we have in the UK, especially in London and around South East and around that area, definitely. But you know, when they're speaking about, you know, the housing prices are too high and we know that landlords are selling up because of all of the changes to the laws and all the rest of it. And a lot of people are thinking that this is a good thing. It's not really a good thing, you know that. I'll tell you why. Because investors always buy at the bottom of the market, not at the top, the bottom of the market. So when you see a lot of landlords selling up because of the news, you know, they're getting rid of the Section 21 and all that stuff there. So when you see a lot of landlords selling up, and you'll see a lot more houses on the market, what that's going to do is going to drive house prices down. People are like, yeah, house prices are going to be driven down and everyone's happy. But the thing is that even though the housing prices will be driven down, people still can't buy the houses anyway because they don't have enough money for the deposit. If you want to buy a house for 30 grand, or sorry, for 300 grand, you need a deposit of 30k. No one, who's got a deposit, who's got 30k in the bank? That's not including legal fees or anything like that, or taxes or anything like that. It's just speaking about just deposit by itself. Many people haven't got that, and the average house, you know, in London, for example, is not, I don't think it's 300,000 anyway. I think it's way more than that. So all I'm saying is that the housing prices will start coming down, and what's going to happen is that you're going to get a lot of investors, especially companies. They're going to come in and start buying up all the properties. So instead of the properties being run by landlords, there's good ones and bad ones, we know that, but instead of the landlords, the ones who run in the houses, it's going to be companies that's going to be running the houses. It's going to be taken over by companies, big investors, and then when they take over, there's going to be less choice. There'll be less wriggle room for everybody. So those who are renting right now, even though the housing prices may go down, then you're not going to be able to afford the house prices anyway because of all the fees, the deposits and everything that's involved. You still won't be able to buy nothing, but the landlords are going to be leaving, the price is going to go down, and people still can't buy houses, still going to pay higher rents anyway. Rents are not coming down. Listen, rents are not coming down. Once rents go up to a certain level, they're not going to be reduced. Companies are not going to reduce them, no one's going to reduce them, they're going to be high. But the only difference is going to be is that you'll be paying that money to a company and not a landlord. So it'll be like a monopoly's taken over. So I think that landlords leaving the sector is not really going to be, it's not going to fare well. A lot of people, I hate landlords. Yeah, you can hate landlords, you can hate this and hate that. I get all that sort of, that perspective. But at the end of the day, it's still not going to fare that good for those who are renting because they think that rent's going to come down. Rents are never coming down. But anyway, that's my thoughts. What do you think?
Let's talk about the ridiculous rent prices in London and these greedy landlords. Okay, because I was shown probably about 10 different places around different areas in and around London, and I'm seeing studios the size of a 6-yard box, right? They want to be charging 1,300 plus deposit. You're violating. Okay, 1-bedroom apartments. Okay, for anything decent, obviously depends on the area. For anything decent, a 1-bedroom apartment, okay, you're paying at least 1,500-1,600 a month minimum, and that won't be bills included or council tax included, any of that. Okay, house share, however, now this can vary, and again depends on the area. You're paying anything between 800 to 1,000 for anything decent for a house share. Okay, like I got very lucky that my house share, not only is the house super clean, it's new build, all the furniture and stuff in the house all new, My housemates seem really clean. The area seems really nice. It's multicultural, it's diverse. There's loads of food places. I'm about 5 minutes away from the high street. I'm less than 10 minutes away from the bus station and the train station. And I pay a very good price, bills and all that included in this. I got very lucky. But I've seen some of the other places that people can get. Okay, and I've looked around at a lot of places. And it's ridiculous, man. It is ridiculous. I was looking at a place in Ilford, and where the landlord in that area owned 12 houses. He owned 12 houses. I saw 3 of his houses because they're all pretty much on the same street or around the corner from each other. So the woman showed me to multiple houses, and I just said, yeah, no, bro. I saw those 3 houses, and rent was house shares. £1,000 a month, not bills included, no council tax included, nothing. You had to pay deposit on top of that as well. And these houses were dirty. The rooms, the actual rooms were nice, but the rest of the house, dirty. And she was saying that there was a weekly cleaner that comes in. I said, nah. Don't tell me that there's a weekly cleaner that comes in there to clean this place. You look me in my eye and tell me someone comes in here once a week to clean this place. You're violating. You're taking a piss. Okay? You're taking a piss. Some of these landlords need to be stopped. Because if you're going to be a landlord, at least make these places livable for people. At least make these places affordable and reasonable for people, okay? You're jacking up prices while the standard of living, while the standard of your house goes down. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, London is too expensive to live in for what you get for your money. Like, unless you're willing to sacrifice a lot of your monthly salary for rent and bills and all that kind of stuff, then you may be able to find somewhere that you're happy with. But if not, if you're still trying to save and invest a reasonable amount and don't want, 50% of your wage to go on rent and bills, then it's going to be very tricky, which is why I'm outside of London and not inside London. You know what I mean? I had to find somewhere that was close to where I worked, close to my friends, my girlfriend and so forth. But pricing wise, it was going to make sense because from what I've seen, you're really not getting much for your money if you want to live in London, to be honest with you.
I just need to have a little rant about how hard it is to be an adult in this current economy. So I live in the south of England, I live in Essex, and we rent our property. Now, we moved into our property 3 years ago, and in them 3 years, the rental market has increased so much that we could not afford to live where we live if we wasn't already living here. And what I mean by that is if we moved out, our landlord could increase our rent by about £600 to £800 a month to meet with market. And at the moment, they're capping the landlord at 10%. So they can only increase our rent by 10%. We have got so many outstanding maintenance issues to the point where I'm starting to think, are they just leaving us like this because it's actually beneficial for them to piss us off so much that we leave, because then they're going to get like £800 a month extra rather than just paying for the repairs. And even if they paid for the repairs before they moved the new person in, within 2 months, the repairs would have been paid for by that new person. But we can't afford to buy because we need 2 years of our own salary to put a deposit down. And obviously we're paying someone else's mortgage, so we can't save because there's no extra money. Our rent goes up every year. Our rent has gone up by the full 10%, which we're currently negotiating because they've not given us the proper notice and things like that. And I don't feel like you're taught this stuff in school. So like, if I didn't know people that was in the industry that I could ask these questions to, I would just have to go along with it and just be like, yeah, okay. But the fact is, if I've got outstanding maintenance issues, which are severe, by the way, we had a gas leak yesterday because they ignored something and it could have been fixed back in February when I raised it. But now they're trying to charge me more because I've had to reply to my email because I have an emergency gas leak. How messed up is this? So then I'm like trying to find somewhere else potentially to live, but I can't because everywhere's so expensive compared to what we're paying. So I'm stuck. I'm literally stuck because I don't have a deposit for a house, even though my salary would cover a mortgage and more. We would be better off monthly having a mortgage, but because we can't get the deposit together because we're paying someone else's mortgage, we have to continue paying extortionate rent prices. And I don't even live anywhere that's like fancy. Like, I live in a town which has not a lot going on, which is fine for me. That's not me complaining. I love where we live. I'd love to stay where we are, and we intend to stay where we are as long as things get sorted. But I'm feeling like, are they doing all this because they want us to get so annoyed and just move? But the reality is we can't move because this is all we can physically afford. Obviously, I'm on statutory maternity leave. Like, I can't just up and leave. We have a child, we have a dog, we have so many limitations, and they're just making it so difficult. And I just needed to get on my soapbox because I just don't understand how we're meant to adult and, you know, improve the economy and do all these things when you can't do right or wrong. Like, they want us to buy, but they make it so difficult to buy. So they want to keep us renting, but now they've made the rent so high that we can't move. And then if you are a landlord, you're penalised. It's just a hot mess express. And I just don't understand where we go from here. I have no point to this. I just needed to blurt it out on the internet so that someone else can come in the comments and be like, same. Because I doubt I'm the only person that's dealing with this. And our landlord doesn't even live in the country, so we deal with an estate agent. So I'm like, does the landlord even know what's happening to his property? Like, you know, yeah, good luck to anyone else renting in this economy.
Housing has become a major problem in the UK and lots of other places around the world. I remember when it changed, and it was shocking. Once upon a time, houses were affordable to pretty much everybody. My brother was a building society manager, and he told me once that there was a reason why a building society would lend you 3 times your earnings, because that was an affordable amount for a mortgage. And the reason it was 3 times your earning is because when you've paid your mortgage, the calculations worked out that a third of your income would pay your mortgage. A third of your income would cover the cost of actually running your house. So that's all your bills and everything associated with living. And a third was for yourself to have a good time. And then all of a sudden, we were told that property was an investment. Now, when I was a young lad, my first property cost me £55,000 for a 3-bedroom house. And I earned about 20. That's a pretty decent percentage. Now, I looked around this area a little while ago to find out what the average cost ratio between a property and earnings was, and it was 17 times. How is that realistic? How does that make it affordable? We're stuck in a trap here, and how do you get out of a trap like that? That's a big problem. It's not something we can solve individually, but it's probably something we can work on collectively.
And that's where we're at in Britain, a country where independence is being ripped away, not just from the young, but from anyone who isn't sitting on a pile of inherited wealth. It's not just about moving back into your parents' house. It's about the crushing reality that no matter how hard you work, the finish line keeps moving further away. We're living in a system where landlords can demand half your paycheck for a single room, where affordable housing means £1,200 a month for a studio, and where buying a home is about as realistic as buying a private island. The government's answer: work harder, as if people aren't already working 2-3 jobs just to keep the lights on, as if skipping a takeaway or cutting out Netflix is going to somehow magic £20,000 for a deposit. This isn't personal failure, it's a manufactured crisis, and it's meant to keep you trapped. Because if you can't afford to move out, you can't start building wealth. If you can't start building wealth, you stay dependent. And if you stay dependent, you stay silent. That's how they keep the system working, for them. But here's the truth. The more of us that speak out, the harder it is for them to bury this reality under lazy millennials headlines or just budget better speeches. And that's why this channel exists, to give you a place where your voice matters. So here's what I'm asking you. Hit subscribe right now so you don't miss the next video calling out this broken system. Drop your story in the comments. Have you had to move back in with your parents? Or never left in the first place? How's it affecting you? Share this video with a friend who's struggling with rent or stuck at home. Because trust me, they're not alone. We need to build a community that's impossible to ignore, because the louder we get, the more we force change. If they want us silent, they're going to be disappointed, because together we're going to be the loudest voice in the room.